Greetings and welcome to CSC News Today. I'm Eben Rosentrader.
And I'm Justin Johnson.
Today's news itinerary includes info about the state of our nation's economy, Nebraska's Work Zone Awareness Week, the big event at Chadron State College, and a recap of how the men's wrestling team at Chadron State College fared during this past season.
Interest rates are holding steady at around 7% as of April 17th. Interest rates have been hovering around 7% since the Federal Reserve raised them back in last June of last year to fight inflation. The interest rates peaked in October of last year at 8%, gradually decreased up to January where they held steady at around 7%. According to Molly Grace of Business Insider, prior to last week's CPI report, forecasters had generally expected the Fed to start cutting rates as early as June. That timeline is now less clear, with some even predicting no rates cut at all in 2024. Then interest rates look like they're going to be staying at 7% mark for another few months, and some experts say that the interest rates might not fall till 2025. Jake Safrain of CBS News, in an interview with Brian Durham, Vice President of Risk Management and Managing Broker at Realty Group LLC, quoted, "I believe we will continue to see rates remain stagnant in the 7% to 6% range until 2025 and potentially longer. The economy is not very predictable, and we won't know more about what the interest rates will look like for next year until the Federal Reserve Board meets from April 30th to May 1st.
In stateside news, Nebraska Department of Transportation and the Associated General Contractors Nebraska chapter, alongside other contractors, recognized Work Zone Awareness Week last week. This is a nationwide event to bring to the forefront and the simple things we can do to be safe while also keeping the roadside workers safe as well. A tip mentioned by Vicki Kramer, the NDOT director, and reported by KNEB News is we must prioritize their safety by avoiding phone use while driving, slowing down, and remaining watchful when driving through work zones in Nebraska. This is everyone's responsibility. Stats from the Federal Highway Administration show that work zone fatalities have been on a decline over recent years. Fatal crashes in work zones decreased slightly in 2022 to 246 fatal crashes from that of 294 in 2021. In 2022, interstates were where 321 fatal crashes in work zones had occurred out of the total 821. The state patrol in each state's jurisdiction carefully monitors these work zones to assure people traveling by are abiding by the laws on the roadway. In many different work zones around the state, on the speed limit signs, it states that fines are double when workers are in the presence of the work site. Again, it is our overall duty when on the roadway is to keep ourselves and others around us safe during our travel. Here's what we can all do to do our part. Stay off electronic devices while at the wheel. Limit other distractions that may be present within the vehicle. Monitor your speed, assuring that you are traveling the speed limit, and allow space between you and the person in front of you to prevent a collision by sudden braking.
Chadron State College's 12th annual big event took place on April 15th, 2024, with over 450 volunteers signing in and serving at 60 sites throughout Chadron. This year's volunteers included CSC students and employees. According to a news article on Chadron State College's website, CSC President Ron K. Patterson, his wife Jenny, and their son BreAnne helped trim branches at the courthouse with several members of the International Club. Also, according to the same article, Nebraska State College Chancellor Paul Truman and his wife Shelley worked with student athletes from the men's and women's wrestling team and track and field student athletes doing maintenance at Camp Norweska near Chadron State Park. Jobs in addition to these included planting trees at Briggs Pond, cleaning at the Eagle Movie Theater, and picking up trash and raking yards debris at various businesses, private residences, and nonprofit organizations. Volunteers participated not only fulfilled their volunteer responsibilities, but also earned lasting memories and friendships.
And in local news, the CSC men's wrestling team looked to continue the historic season leading into next year. The Eagles, this academic year, had one of the best performances in school history, capping it all off with the RMAC championship. The Eagles would go undefeated in regular dual season, defeating all of their in-conference opponents. The last time for this to happen was all the way back in 1995, when the Eagles completed the same large task of going undefeated. Coach Brett Hunter was quoted saying, "The guys had a great year. There's still more work to be done, and there is so much potential that this team still has to discover. It's very exciting to see where we are headed towards the future, especially after such a year like this one." They reached this in a duel against Colorado State at Pueblo. They would go on to beat them 31-10, clinching the RMAC and the trophy. It was a crazy year for the Eagles, battling through much adversity like any other program does, not having a set starter in the middleweight, as well as some serious injuries that plagued the Eagles late in the season. The Eagles battled hard all season on road trips as well as in front of their home crowd. One of the toughest feats they accomplished was the dreaded road trip of traveling to both Western Colorado University and Colorado Mesa University, a trip Coach Brett Hunter has never been successful on in his coaching trip. This would be the first time in 29 years or since the last title that the Eagles would beat both teams on the road. It was the first time Coach Brett Hunter would win against Western Colorado on the road in his career as an Eagle, both as an athlete and a coach. The following day, the Eagles would beat Colorado Mesa. This season was a lot of ups and downs for the Eagles, and although they lose some of their core of their team, such as Mason Watt, Quinn Campbell, and Ethan Leake, they get back returning starters at the 149 to 197 pounds. Overall, the Eagles are on track to continue rolling into next year.
That being said, we've come to the end of this episode of CSC News Today. Join us next time for more news from Nebraska's Panhandle and beyond.